Okay, gonna try to do a quick demo on how to make some, they could be, if you got the parts, they will be cheap. Oil fill USDs for your 1/5 scale bike. First you're gonna need pipe cutters. Definitely good to have. Then you're gonna need needle nose pliers. You're gonna need taps and drills also, but you know, like I said, if you got them, you know, you're gonna have to use your, you know, get a little creative with it. Alright, by the time you're done, should end up with something like this, you know, oil filled. I had to do a little extra to these because I cut these shocks down years ago. But anyway, alright, what I did was I used the stock Thunder Tiger standard fork, you know, setup. You know, you got two versions. If you got the TT FM1E, then they have shorter shafts. And if you got the Ducati electric, they have longer shafts. So depending on which model you have, older ones, you know, they got different shafts. Hopefully you got the newer ones in a way. Okay, now, there was two ways I used to do this. One, if I wanted to keep the fork inside, I would take it and I would cut it at the E-clip ring. Cut it down, drill, tap it. That way you can screw the fork shaft down in there. But what I did was I drilled it out because I was doing some kind of weird experiment that didn't work out. And I just insert a plastic piece down in there, and then I just screwed the shock shaft into that from the oil fill shock. And then where the C-clip goes, you could put cut a piece of the spring and wrapped it around it to use sort of like a C-clip. Keep the shaft from just being yanked out. Okay, now, important, choose your shock that you want to use. You can use a big body shock like this, plastic, aluminum, whatever you got lying around. My favorites are the TLT shocks. I usually shave them down, make them more narrower, you know, so I can use smaller diameter tubings, but you can find a tubing that this will fit in. The only problem is, when you do, you're gonna have to shim it. You're gonna have to shim it, you know. And let me tell you where the needle nose come in at. The needle nose come in at because when you cut these tubings, it crimps them a little bit at the end, and it makes the inner diameter a little smaller. And see, what happened is you won't get anything to fit. Still a good thing, not a bad thing. So you gotta go with the opening. See, boom, that's it. Okay. Now the reason why I say it's still a good thing is once you crimp it, because what happened is that piece that you cut at gets smaller, and what it does is it helps hold the slider in place. Because when you go to put the slider in place, then you put another piece of cap over it that will hold it in place. You know, the next diameter up from the tubing that you use. I double sleeve these tubings to give it a little bit more strength. You could triple, you know, quadruple, whatever, however you want to do it. But let me open this up to show you now. Okay, that's what it looks like on the inside. I used the full length of the upper leg, and where the snap ring went at, because I'm using shorter shock shaft, you know, tinier shafts, tinier shocks with shorter shafts, I use the full length. And I cut the bottom of the spring, put where the C-clip will go to keep it from getting yanked out. Okay. This piece right here comes out, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's a tiny slider in there. I already got the slider fitted in, and slid a piece. Oh, wait a minute, I had this one tripled. No, this is doubled. Okay, yep, this one's just doubled. See, it's tripled, and then the next pipe up, I slid that over. That holds that piece, the slider, in place. That slider's not coming out unless I pull this off, which by then I would have soldered it. So this is the first important piece. This is what the piston and the fork leg has to fit in through. Your first inner bore, you know, tubing or whatever. So once you slide that over like that, that goes over. And I just put this piece on there a little bit, you know, to separate it, give it a little bit of look. Like so. And then what I would normally do is I put a bead of solder around there to keep this pipe from sliding loose. Just put a bead of solder and keeps everything in place. Plus, once you do the triple trees, if you're using a stock triple tree, and you clamp down on it, that will keep it in place. And then I will slide this through like that. And because I shaved these down, I had to make a little sleeve in there to kind of fit. So that will fit in there like that. So when I go to clamp it down in the triple tree will also clamp down on the shock that's in it to help it out, to keep the shock in place from popping out. I've been running it that way. So now if I squeeze it, like if it was a triple tree, it will hold it in there. It will hold it in place. So you slide everything down in there. Good to go. I kind of like to leave the shock top exposed. That way I can unscrew it to change the weight oil and things of that nature. So if you use a micro threaded body shock, that's good too, because you can adjust your spring preload, pull the shock out, and you just screw it, get the the tension that you want, the spring preload that you want, and there you go. Makes things a lot easier. What I did for the foot, for the axle to go through, is I took the stock lower and I cut it. Use a hacksaw or whatever you have, you can cut it. And then I drilled it and tapped it so it would screw in to the lower fork leg. And once you drill it and tap it, you just screw it in like that. And just grab with a cloth or something, you really crank down on it. And then you'll end up like this, And that's pretty much what you'll end up with. But that's pretty much it in a nutshell here. I didn't want to make an extremely long video. So if you have any questions, and I try to answer them as best as you can. But let me show you the first set I did. I made for my TTN Nitro with my hang-on rider, and that's how they came out, using the stock triple trees. Oh, when you use the stock triple trees, what you're going to do is drill them out to the diameter of the tubing that you're using. And when you drill them out, try to keep them both together. Use a pair of vice grips. If you don't have a vise, you use a pair of vice grips, but ultimately you need a vise and a drill. That really helps out, because you really need to get them straight, get the bore, the holes straight. And then what you do is, after you drill them out to fit the tube in, you put a little cut in there for a pinch bolt. Drill, tap, put your pinch bolt in there, and once you tighten down on it, that's going to keep the forks from, the internal shocks on the inside from popping up and popping out. So they'll stay in there. And then when you loosen them up, you can pull them out and maintenance them and do whatever you need to do. But that's pretty much it right there in a nutshell. So very smooth. I love them. Absolutely love them. Work pretty well. I had a couple of horrendous crashes over the weekend, and these are double tubed. As you can see, still straight. No problems whatsoever. First thing in the first crash, I thought that was it. They were done, but no problems at all. And another thing to make sure too, once you drill that and you got them all assembled, to keep them smooth, make sure your adjustments here. That's very important. You might have to shim it with whatever you can find, maybe a piece of paper or whatever, to keep it, But usually if you drill the bores right and you drill the triple trees out right, you shouldn't have no problem. And this is a set I did using the Associated RC10 shocks. I love those shocks. Again, very, very smooth. But as you can see, I went big on the diameter up here and then stepped it down, if you can see it in the camera there. And I just soldered them together. I took it for a run. They held up great. They worked great. And again, you could drill the triple trees out, make it rather large, and put your pinch bolt in, and it will hold up. So because they work, I'll go back and clean these up, make them look a little bit better. But they're softer, and right now I gotta go back in, take the spring out, and go with a stiffer spring anyway. All right. Thank you for watching, and I hope this helps.